Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Monday, the 2nd of June. I can't believe we're already in June. Isn't that crazy? As I was doing some cleaning up in my office last week, I discovered a whole whack of books and magazines and stuff that I have all these post-it notes in because they were ideas I thought would be good for Church at Home. And this one, I haven't picked up this book in a couple of years. Faith After Doubt by Brian McLaren. Some of you who have been around Church at Home from the beginning might remember some of this, but I wanted to share a passage he's got here that really speaks to me about the need we have for taking time to sort of evaluate. And this chapter is called Doubt as Loneliness, and it starts with a quote from Frederick Buechner. Doubts are the ants in the pants of faith. They keep it awake and moving. You know the ants in your pants thing? Doubts are the ants in the pants of faith. They keep it awake. They keep faith awake and moving. And this is Brian McLaren. He says, I love to ride horses. Years ago, I was invited to participate in a 4-day trail ride in the wilderness of northern Pennsylvania's Allegheny Mountains. I'll spare you a detailed description of the first day when we got lost and had to spend 23 hours on horseback to reach our campsite. Actually, it was 8 or 9 hours, but it really, really, really felt like 23. Nor will I share the details about how the next morning, as I crawled out of my tent, I discovered agony in parts of my anatomy I didn't even know were capable of pain. Nor will I try to convey the corresponding ecstasy I felt halfway through our trip, when my body and mind seemed to drop into a deep rhythm with my horse and with the natural surroundings, maybe akin to the endorphin-induced euphoria of runners and the inner smile of yoga practitioners. Instead, I want to share something the horses taught me during our days together that helps me understand the loneliness of human doubt. From the first trot to the last gallop, what seemed to interest the horses most was neither their human riders nor the environment around them. Apart from the few moments when a bear entered our campground and the times we stopped to feed and water them, our mounts were obsessed with only one thing: one another. Tucker hated to be behind Zeus. Thunder loved to walk behind Daisy. Rain despised Plato so much that she would kick him if he came up behind her, and Plato was restless if he wasn't somewhere near Thunder. At every moment, the horses were turning their heads to the left or right, lifting or lowering their ears, angling their bodies on the trail, snorting, flicking their tails, and otherwise sending body language messages to other horses before and after them. We humans were looking at the scenery, but the horses were tuned into one another. I mentioned this observation to our wrangler, and he confirmed my hunch. They're herd animals, he said. They have power struggles, friendships, rivalries, and alliances just as we do. It's like their trains are wired together in a network, and each is constantly monitoring the others. The social life of horses helped me understand my own behavior when I was struggling through a deep period of doubt as a pastor. On my day off, whenever possible, I would get in my car and drive 2 hours away up in the mountains of western Maryland to the C&O Canal towpath along the Potomac River. I thought I was going to fish because fishing relaxes me. So much so that my wife, when she notices I'm tense or testy, says, maybe you should go fishing. But looking back, I now realize it was not the company of fish, but the absence of people that I so desperately needed. Why did I need some distance between me and other human beings? Because thinking, it turns out, is a social act. And to think freely, to think differently, to think independently, you sometimes need to escape from the herd. If you can't get physical distance from your clan, tribe, herd, or hive, you'll at least need to create some emotional distance, perhaps by retreating into a book. This need for withdrawal helps explain, at least in part, why contemplatives and other mystics have always upheld the value, no, the necessity, of solitude as a spiritual practice. I think rereading that passage really struck home for me because I have found that I have become very much a herd person. Not intentionally, not on purpose, I'm an introvert, and I prefer time alone. I feel much more comfortable when I have periods of time when I can just be myself, be by myself, to reflect, to think, to pray, to be quiet, to talk out loud. I talk to myself, talk to God. But in the role that I'm in as bishop now, and in the amount of traveling around and going to different places I do, I find I am very much with the crowd all the time, with the herd, with the tribe. And I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it. I feel like I'm, right where I need to be. I'm also finding when I take time to reflect, take time to read something like that and let it sink in, I'm also recognizing that I need the balance. I am adapting well to becoming an introvert in an extroverted situations, in an extroverted world. But the more I have to live in the extroverted side of myself, the more I'm realizing I need time to go back. I'm realizing I need that time away. I have never been very good at holiday time, taking holidays, because it always felt like, even when I've been married, so much of my time was spent alone. Rob deployed, or when we were on holidays, we would sort of putter around the house, do our thing together, separately, but together. But I never sort of took intentional time off. I read a book, watch TV, play games on my iPad, but didn't really take time for quiet. And now that I've had a year in as bishop, and I've been doing the job and loving it, as I said, I'm realizing how much I'm looking forward to our trip home. And when I say home, I mean back to Brandon. We are heading at the end of June. I go to clergy conference and then driving to Ontario for our general synod. So this is the triennium every 3 years. The Anglican Church of Canada has like an annual general meeting, only it's every 3 years, where they gather people from across the country into a general meeting. This is my first one, and I'm looking forward to it. It happens to be in London, where my family lives. So while we stay in a hotel, we're at synod with the delegates. We're going to take a few days and just meet with family, have a bit of a family reunion with Rob's side of the family in Sarnia, and then we're going to ease our way back over 4 or 5 days back to Brandon. And then once we get here, we turn around, we go to Cropthorne, which is a cottage that has no internet and has no television. And I think it might have radio, but it's quiet. And I am really looking forward to the quiet. Just sitting on the couch, reading a book next to Rob as he paints on his iPad. I'm looking forward to going for walks. Maybe, I don't know whether we'll be able to take the boat out. We have a fishing boat, but there haven't been allowed to be any motorized boats on Clear Lake because of zebra mussel infestation. So not sure if the boat will go out or not, but even if it doesn't, we can walk down to the water. We can go and get a coffee at the coffee shop or an ice cream in Wasagaming and just take time to be quiet, to be gentle, to remember who I am and who we are. We have become a world that indicates that we need to be herd society. We need to be in our tribe. Like those horses, we pay more attention to each other than we necessarily do to ourselves and what we need to fill ourselves back up. But we also need time, like Brian said, to go off and fish. Maybe not even fish, just go off and be, to recuperate, to take time to take stock. And I'm wondering, what about you? What do you do to take time for yourself? What things do you need or things do you not need in order to be able to relax and be, to refresh, and to really settle back into yourself? I don't know about you, but I know it will probably take me a few days into Cropthorne and that time away before, like Brian said, after about halfway through the horse trip, he finally just fell into the rhythm. It'll take me a bit of time to fall into the rhythm, but I'm looking forward to it and discovering who I am now on the other side of having been a bishop for a year. Who are we on the other side of having lived in the world we are currently living in for a while? Maybe we all need time to take a break, go for a horseback ride, or go fishing. What do you need for your physical, mental, and spiritual well-being? Maybe it's time to take stock of that and plan some time for you. Have a great day, everybody. I will see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachel. God bless.